Hello, hello, beautiful beings of light. So excited to be with you here today. Hello, Instagram. I'm gonna wait a few breaths to welcome people on live. Hi, thank you so much for joining. Hi, Natalie. Thank you so much for joining this live. I'm so excited to be here. As you join, I'd love for you to just share what brings you here, what you're wanting to receive today. Hi, Christina. Oh, it's so good to see you again. Oh, I'm so excited to be doing this live, and this live came through from a completely inspirational space. It was just Money wanted me to do this live. And today is a huge day because I am launching the Waitlist enrollment of Nectar, which is the program that is here to heal the receiving wound and awaken nervous system wealth within you, within the collective. And so I'm just so excited to come on here and talk about money. Talk about some things that we don't often talk about when it comes to money, and really open up dialogue about what it means to have a generative, luscious, nurturing relationship with the energy of receiving. And one of the ways that we receive is through money. It's not the only way, but it is one of the ways. So that is what we are here to talk about. So this live is going to be probably a little bit different than my other lives, in that I really want to share my own money story here with you. And as I share my own, I just want to invite each and every one of you to tune into if you feel resonance with any part of that story, if it brings up certain things within you as it relates to your own personal experiences. And I'd love for us to share, because a lot of what we're talking about today is money trauma. And it's such a real thing for every person on this planet. We all have different levels of money trauma, right? And money trauma looks a lot of different ways. Sometimes when I use that word trauma, we think about like huge events that, has us experiencing a huge trauma response in our body. And that might be your experience of money, but trauma is also small things, right? Small relational breaks in our relationship with money that really impacts how we feel about money and how we allow ourselves to receive money and what we think is possible for us as it relates to money. And so I'm going to share my own money story, not only from where was I with money, but what really shifted my entire experience of money, right? And I think it's important for us to talk about this because we all come from such different places, right? We all have different identities, and each one of our identities, how we are in the world, right, impacts our experience with money, impacts what we believe is possible, what we can access in our body as it relates to trust with money. And so a lot of the conversation today is going to be about how do we repair trust with money? How do we allow money to feel like this truly generative, overflowing resource in our life that we can wield, because money is a tool, right? Money only exists in this human realm, and money is a tool, and we get to use that tool in such beautiful ways. So what can happen when we reclaim money for ourselves, when we reclaim what money means for the collective, right? Can you imagine what could happen? And part of my mission is to heal the receiving wound, specifically in women, because I really desire for more women to have more money. I desire for change makers to have more access to money. Not because it's going to solve all of the world's problems. Money is not the only solution. It is not the one solution. There's no one solution. but it does create a really powerful pathway to change, right? To women feeling empowered to make choices, to create their life differently. So that is what we're here to talk about today. So get cozy, have some tea. And I also want to talk about different ways of healing our money trauma, because I think this is a really important conversation that we are not talking about yet. And so this is part of what I'm bringing into the dialogue. Hi, Christina. So lovely to see you. So I really love it when I interact with all of you. And if I had the option to make this like, I see your face, you see my face, I would do that. But I just really encourage you to share your own voice, to share your own experience, to ask questions. There's going to be space for you to ask questions. And I will do my best to track the questions as they come in and answer them as they come in. But just really feel free to unleash whatever you want to unleash here in the space. Okay, so I'm going to start with my own money story, and I'll talk about my background because I think background is important. We all enter into the money healing space from different places, depending on how we were raised, where we came from, our identities, right? And so I am a white person, and I grew up mainly middle class, and I was born in Croatia, which is a country in Europe, if you're not familiar with it. It's beautiful. And my parents emigrated to the United States when I was 6 years old. So I was an immigrant in the US. And I would say that I was a very privileged immigrant in the US, meaning, you know, my dad is a scientist. So we didn't come into the country without him having a job or without any level of security. But it was definitely a new experience, right? It was a new way of being in America. And so there's a lot of things that came into my experience as an immigrant, as feeling like an other in both the United States and in Croatia, because I traveled back and forth. But my experience of money in particular during my life has always been, we had enough. It never felt like we were going to, you know, go without food or shelter or any of those things. My parents always provided those basic necessities for me very well. So I started off with like this level of nervous system safety with money of like, I'm provided for at this level of need, right? And for some other people that might not have been the case, right? And this all factors in to how we experience money in our life and where our nervous system is with money. So I always felt like we had enough, like our needs were met. There were lots of conversations in the household about saving money, not spending too much money. So it wasn't ever like we had an overflow or like we could buy whatever we wanted. My parents, you know, had a very like work hard for money kind of ethic. And they saved money in order to buy a house, which they were finally able to do when I was in high school. But there was definitely a huge range of time where we were living kind of in a roommate situation in someone else's house when we were in America, and a period of time where we were living in a small apartment because that's what we could afford, what my family could afford. And my parents spent a lot of time saving money so they could buy this house, right? And so the messages that I received around money is like, we have enough to survive and eat and do all the things. But it's like you have to work hard for money. You have to struggle for money. Not everybody makes a lot of money. And there was a lot of kind of like villainizing rich people as like bad or different, or like we're not like them. Like this isn't something that's accessible to us. They're a different breed of human, right? And I hear this a lot with women that I work with. It's like, well, I'm not that rich person. Like I wasn't bred into that. I wasn't born into that. I'm not that kind of person, right? And so there's this kind of like othering that we do in relationship to people who have a lot of money or what we consider to be rich, right? And so I was also raised in a primarily Catholic culture. My parents were not Catholic in and of themselves. They were scientists. They were kind of like really rationally minded. They weren't into spirituality like I am. I was kind of the odd person in my family. But I was raised in a Catholic culture. And so, it was a lot of like penance and sin and like shame. And definitely that tied in with sexuality, with talking about sex and the body. And that also definitely tied in with money. It's like, you are selfish, you are bad if you want money, right? There's something wrong about you. You should, give as much as possible and not take any for yourself, right? There's all of these messages that come from kind of the religious culture that we've all been embedded in different ways, but it's definitely the culture of Croatia is very Catholic. So those were some of the messages that I grew up with money. I have a very, very strong memory of something my mom said to me when I was little. I was, always the kid who like wanted really pretty things, and nothing has changed. I'm still that person, right? I love luxury. I love earrings. I love beauty. I love to surround myself in beauty. And so I always wanted so much. And I remember my mom saying, well, you're either going to have to marry rich or you're going to have to make a lot of money to afford your lifestyle, right? And the way that I received that at the time was like, oh, like, this is somehow bad. Like, I shouldn't want this. I shouldn't want this much. And there was a lot of shame about the things that I wanted or desired. Like, I shouldn't want this really nice thing because I can't afford it. And it's only like if I get married to someone who can afford it, or if I somehow, become rich, which just seems really silly because I'm not that kind of person that would get rich, right? And so there are all these like stories around like, this isn't accessible to me. I feel a lot of shame about wanting more and desiring more money. Am I a bad person, right? And like the story continues, right? And so when I became an adult and I started spending my own money, I was like going a little like credit card crazy, right? Because I have always had like a really desire-fueled kind of experience with things. And so I was like, well, if I don't have it in my bank account, I'm just going to credit it. I'm going to give it to myself and then I'll figure out how to make it back, right? And so this kind of kept me in a cycle of like, there's never enough. I can only make so much. Debt is bad. Money is bad. Like my desires are bad. I'm like accumulating all this debt. And even though like I'm getting these things, it just like isn't feeling good, right? And so when I entered into like the coaching space and creating my own business, there was a lot of just like money shame that was there. There was a lot of avoidance of money. I didn't want to look at money. I didn't want to look at my bank accounts. I didn't want to look at my debt. It was like, I know that it's there. It feels overwhelming. I can't hold it in my body. I'm turning away from this and I'm just going to like go at it in my business and create more money and then I'll figure it out, right? But I just couldn't turn towards money. It was like, this is something I'm going to do later. I'm going to figure this out, right? The one thing that I did have, I've always had a mindset of like expansion and investment in myself. So I always felt really empowered. Like, I feel good about investing in myself. And I joined so many coaching programs. I worked with so many different kinds of coaches. And some of it came from desire and some of it came from fear. Some of it was like, I can't figure it out for myself. And I'm just going to like hire this next coach to kind of like meet the like, I'm not enough space within myself and have that coach figure it out for me, right? And so it was a lot of externalization of my own power and my own capacity to create. And I did learn a lot. Like I received a lot from these coaching programs and from these coaches, but it wasn't truly coming from me claiming my desire to work with them. It wasn't coming from my enoughness, from like, I am enough. And I just get to have this support because I get to have it, because I get to activate this energy within myself. I get to rise with someone holding me. I get to be guided versus expecting them to be the miracle that created the results for me, right? And so a lot of what ended up happening in the first couple of years of my coaching practice is I was investing really like on a big level in my business, and I was making some income, like it was happening, but it wasn't at the level that I desired, right? I felt so much shame about the debt that I had accumulated. I felt so much shame about, this wasn't working the way that I wanted it to. There was a lot of anxiety and worry and fear around money, even though there were components of it where I just felt like I'm safe and supported and I can invest in myself. So both were kind of present at the same time. And it took me 3 years before I felt safe enough to even turn towards money. And before I even felt resourced enough to be like, okay, I get to peek under this hood and I get to look at what is here. And I'm doing it with all my tools, with all my nervous system regulation stuff. I'm just allowing myself to look at this one thing, look at the debt, look at my bank account, look at how I can come into relationship with money. And I just get to turn towards it just a little bit. Can I feel safe here? And that one action, that one invitation from me, from my body to be I need to look at this point, just opened up my nervous system to continue to feel more and more safe with money. And it was that moment where I allowed myself to turn towards money that shifted my entire receiving trajectory in my business. It truly did. And I can talk about, obviously there are other factors that come into that. I'm not the coach who's going to tell you it's this one thing and all you need is this one thing. It's never just one thing. It's a lot of things. Another thing was I had been showing up in my business for 3 years too, right? I had been seeding the soil. I had been clarifying my messaging, right? All of those things come into business growth. But it was when I started turning towards money that quantum leaps in my business happened. It wasn't a strategy. It wasn't even signing up for a specific coach, although a particular investment, because I made the decision from desire and enoughness, and because I really, really wanted it and I decided to give it to myself from the place of desire, not need. That was what shifted my receiving paradigm. And I know that we do so many things to make more money, and all of them have a certain kind of impact. They do move the needle. But at the end of the day, it was about my nervous system feeling safe with money at the levels that I desired to receive. And that was point blank it, right? And I had all of this knowledge about the nervous system. I had all this knowledge about trauma, but I had never connected the dots on well, duh. I carry money trauma. My clients carry money trauma. And we're so impacted by it on some conscious levels, but definitely on unconscious levels that we don't even know about, right? And so when I actually allowed money to sit in my body, when I held the energy of money in my body, what happened in my body was my nervous system went, it didn't feel safe. It was shit. This actually feels bad. Money feels dirty. I hate what other people do with money. Right? I hate that we live in this really capitalist society and money is greed and money is all of these stories, right? Flying out. And the truth is that as triggering as money is actually just a tool and it's completely neutral. It is neutral. And we actually create the charge with it, whether the charge and the activation with it is one that we use in not so great ways, right? In greedy ways. Or we create an activation with it that is pleasure fueled, that is about creating a new pathway for ourselves, for the world, right? We are the ones who wield this powerful tool in any direction. And it's not that money in and of itself is powerful. It is the person who is wielding it that provides power to money, right? And money is just something that exists in our human realm. On a soul level, nobody cares about money in and of itself, right? It's a human invention. It's made up, but we do have to live with it. It's part of our lived experience, and money does matter from the perspective of we have to have it in order to create, in order to be in the world in the way that we want to be. And so what I found happened through my own like body-based work, somatic work with money, is that the more safe that I felt with money, the more turned on I got by it. Like I was turned on to make more money. And it was really coming from this space of my own power. I was like, look at what I can create with money. Look at what not just I can receive individually, but what I get to create in the world when I have more money, right? Look at the powerful pathways that got to be created through me just wielding more money and anchoring it in and using it in really generative ways, right? And one of the things that I started seeing in my sessions with women, I've been doing healing work for 14 years, and I've been really working with business women in particular for the past 4 years. And the theme that I saw again and again in our sessions, whether we were healing not enoughness with the inner children, whatever we were healing with inner children, it was like across the board. The one theme that came through is I don't feel safe to receive. I don't feel safe to receive more support, more love, more money, right? I don't feel safe to slow down and to receive like the lusciousness of time and space, right? I don't feel safe to receive. And that is such a thing that is particular for women, because women are really trained. They are trained by society to be caretakers, to give and give and give, right? I became a social worker when I first got into like the realm of being in a career. I was a social worker. I worked with trauma. And, you know, we're all programmed to just give of ourselves, to be healers, to provide. And that isn't bad, right? That isn't bad. Like, it's okay to be a caregiver. It's okay to give. Like, it's beautiful to give. But it's often at the expense of ourselves, right? There's a programming that happens for mothers, for women in general, where it's like, I will sacrifice myself. I will make myself smaller. I will give to you before I give to myself. I will undercharge, right? I will not ask for support because I can do it all by myself, right? I'm supposed to do it all by myself. I'm supposed to be Wonder Woman. It's all of these images of like women who are doing it all, holding it all, being it all, but in the meantime are actually just feeling so dry and uninspired in their life. They're feeling parched for pleasure, for play, for just really deep enjoyment of themselves and the world, right? And so there's all of these ways that we are both consciously and unconsciously just trained to not feel safe with receiving and actually pushing away support even when someone wants to give us support. I can't even count the number of times that I myself, like when someone has offered support, I've been like, you know what? No, it's okay. I can do it by myself. Like I can do all of it. Don't worry about it. Don't get anxious about it. It's fine. When my partner asks me if I want to be supported, it's been something that I've also been trying to really work on. It's like, yes, I want your support. Like, come join me here. Come hold this with me, right? And so the receiving wound is like this like bigger umbrella kind of energy where we block receiving for lots of different reasons, right? But money in and of itself is a subsection of that receiving wound. It's only one way that we receive. But I've found that when we do the money healing work, it actually translates to all of the other ways of receiving, because the way that we pattern in one space is the way that we tend to pattern in all other spaces. And the way that I approach money work is really from the relational space. I am looking at how do you become more intimate with money. It's just like any kind of relationship that you have, right? If you hand over a list of things to money that you're dissatisfied with and you're like, look, I'm really not happy with you. These are all the things I would like you to fix, and then we can talk. Like if you did that with your partner, how well would that be received, right? And we tend to do that because what we see is where we are not feeling good with money. We see what's not working with money. We see where we are not receiving with money. And when we actually learn how to develop a deep and intimate and luscious connection with money that feels safe in our bodies, the energy has no choice but to shift. If you've even experienced this in one of your relationships, right? Where you've come to the table and you've said, look, this is my experience of something. This is how I'm feeling about it. How are you feeling about it? Can you tell me more? The way that that relationship conversation unfolds, the way that that shifts the energy in the relationship, the way that that builds intimacy in relationship applies with money too. And we forget that we actually get to nurture that relationship and shift it through the mere act of turning towards money, looking at money and being with money and talking to money and deepening with money. And that money gets to have a pleasure response in your body. That is actually the whole point of Nectar, is like, I want your nervous system to have a pleasure response with money, because when we have a pleasure response, it means I feel so safe in my body. This feels so good in my body, and I'm allowing myself to have my desires. I'm allowing myself to fully expand from the space of, the person who's in the driver's seat that knows the way to my highest expression of being, and that is your soul, right? And this is why money is such an activator of your becoming, of who you are becoming in this world. And it's not because of like money in and of itself. It's not like money is the most important thing in the world. It's just an activator. We get to choose to have it as a tool that allows us to liberate ourselves even more. And the more that I have allowed money to have this like pleasurable ripple in my body, the more I've been able to express my essence in the world. Because it's just the way the human world works, right? Like if I want to have experiences like traveling, like having beautiful things that just like feel so yummy against my body, right? That give me a whole experience in my body. It does take money. And through that avenue, I've been able to activate parts of myself. I've been able to activate forbidden desires that I haven't even wanted to admit that I had because of my shame with money, that have allowed me to feel so much safer being who I am, embracing my bigness, showing up with all parts of myself and my wholeness. It's been such a huge contributor to that, right? It's helped to unleash me. Yeah, and that's what I want money to be for you. I wanted to allow it to unleash you. I wanted to allow you to become who you really are and to wield it in any way that you really desire, because I trust you so much. I trust healers. I trust creative visionaries. I trust women to create a different way of being in this world. And that's what this work is about. And so in my own money journey, as I started turning more towards money, right, I just began to experience overflow. Like it was actually, like it's still mind-blowing. This year alone, I have experienced unreal, illogical levels of growth. It's been like, you can't explain it with the rational mind. And it used to trigger me like so much when people would talk about quantum leaps, because I was like, how are you doing this? How is this even possible? And I would get so triggered. I'm like, you are telling a lie to people. Like, this is a lie. Why are you saying that this is possible when I have no idea what you're talking about? But when I started doing this like relational work with money and having it feel safe in my body, it just like flowed into my life. And there was no logical explanation. It was just like people were contacting me about working with me. People were upping their packages. Creative projects were coming through me. Like my creative energy was lit up. And I was like, and this is how my business is going to grow. And like, this is what I'm going to launch. And I started showing up completely differently in my business too. My messaging got sharper. I got focused. I felt the fire inside of me for my vision. It activated something within me. right? And more money flowed, right? And this work is not just about like going from 0 to 50K a month or 100K a month or whatever your desire is. This work is about learning how to journey with money in your body at whatever level of financial growth you desire to welcome in. This is work I continue to do at every single level. And I literally jumped from like 8 to 10K months to now being on track for a 50K month just in this year alone. And it's not a miracle, but it like is magic. It's magic because I've done like the somatic work. I've like held my uncomfortable parts with money, and I continue to activate my nervous system at a different level of receiving. I find my edges in my nervous system, and I allow my body to start to feel safe with this higher expression of financial flow. And I jumped from like 20K months into being on target for a 50K month without landing anywhere in between, right? This wasn't like a steady like, oh, I'm earning 25K a month now, and now I'm adding another 5K at the 30K amount. No, it was like, whoosh, it flooded in, and it continues to, right? And so we get to access the realm of impossibility with money. If we stay in the realm of like, okay, I'm going to balance my checkbook, I'm going to like just make sure, cross out all my T's, dot all my I's, like, can I collect $1 every single time to make this investment work, or like whatever we're doing. It's like a very 3D way of approaching our money. And while we do need like some level of structure around money, right? We need some level of honoring. It's part of how we honor money, is to create structure around it. I exist in the illogical realm with money. I exist in the possibility that at any moment I could welcome in 100K month, and it doesn't need to make sense, right? All that needs to happen is that I get to feel it in my body. And when I feel something in my body, it happens. It just happens, right? And so that's the power of this work, is that we get to trust our bodies. We get to trust our body wisdom. And when you allow yourself to feel it in your body, when you know that it's truth, that it's inevitable, it doesn't even matter when it arrives, right? We always talk about let go of the outcome, right? And that is so hard to do when you're feeling anxious and worried about money. It's like, well, when is it going to come? When is it going to come? Like, when can I expect it? And the beautiful thing is when we work with our nervous system, we learn how to shift out of the anxiety and constant worry with money. And we allow ourselves to shift into the deep knowing that it's coming no matter what. And I am supported until it comes. And if I feel the monthly amount in my body, that's how I calibrate myself, is according to monthly amounts. If I feel that in my body, I just trust that it's coming. And I know that it's coming. And it's happened every single time, right? And so I'm always living on the nervous system edge with money, where I can feel the amount in my body. So my body isn't freezing around the amount, but I can feel the amount. And I feel the edges of it, of like, ooh, this doesn't quite feel safe or possible for me. But I'm working with it. I'm allowing the energy to be present. And I'm working through my shadow parts with money and deepening in the stories that I have about it and what's possible for me. And we continue to have money shit that comes up at every single level. I don't care if you're making 100K a month, you have money trauma. And in fact, some of the people who are making the most money in the world, in the coaching industry, actually have a lot of scarcity around money, and they feel a lot of fear around losing money, and they wonder if they're going to have enough or if the bottom is going to fall out, right? Just because you're making more money doesn't mean that the anxiety and the worry disappears or that your relationship with money shifts. Making more money does not mean you feel good about money, right? And so this is about empowering yourself to feel good about money, empowering yourself to wield money in the direction of your desires. And it's about reclaiming money as something that is sacred, as something that is divine, that creates space for generative receiving, which means that I am receiving fully, my cup is overflowing, And so is yours, right? I am giving to you from this space of overflow, from like me feeling deeply nourished and supported by money, by other people's support, by love, by whatever we desire to receive, right? And that's the future that I am desiring to create, that I'm desiring to welcome in. That's what I want women to experience in their life, where it's not only are we receiving money, but we're receiving it in a way that feels luscious and good and nourishing and generative, that contributes to the planet, that contributes to the desires that I have, to the life that I want to see for my children, that creates generational wealth. Like, that is what I'm here for, right? And there is a version of this where money gets to feel that way, where money doesn't have to be something that's avoided, where money doesn't have to be filled with anxiety and worry, or where it's like there's never enough no matter how much you make, or there's fear of losing it, or there's fear of holding it, right? And this goes far beyond co-creation. That is definitely a part of this work, is co-creation, but I don't teach laws of attraction. I teach you being present with your body, you being in a relationship with money, you co-creating through your creative force in your womb space and your nervous system, and allowing it to feel good. It's not about following rules. It's about attuning to your own body and resonance, right? It's not about manifesting, like huge checks in the mail, although like that can happen, but it's actually about building sustainable sources of financial flow in your life that you can hold in your body, right? I often hear of entrepreneurs who like make a ton of money and then they quote unquote lose it all, or, they make it 1 month, but they can't repeat it again another month. This is actually about sustaining and holding in your nervous system. Your nervous system is the one that helps you sustain and hold. Your nervous system is what does that job. And since I started hitting, 5-figure months, multiple 5-figure months, I haven't gone back. Right? Even when clients reduce their like packages, or when they say I can't do it right now, or when they finish their packages and they say goodbye, I'm never in a rush of like, where is it going to come from? What's going to happen? Am I going to be able to maintain it? I am actually like, cool, like that's great. Our work does feel complete. And another person applies, right? And it comes back to me. It's this generative flow of giving and receiving that allows you to be in true honoring of your clients, of the work that you do, where it just like feels good, right? There's no like have to sell, manipulation, bro, marketing shit. Like none of that. This is like, we allow ourselves to trust and receive and know that it's always coming for us, right? It's right here in our bodies. And so this is what Nectar is all about. This is what we do in Nectar. It's a 5-month journey. And, money trauma is stored in our body. It's stored in our nervous system. And money wounds they're just messengers. They're like protections that exist in your body that just want to protect you against like, oh, if I receive this, I'm going to feel too overwhelmed, or I'm not going to be able to handle it, or I'm going to be irresponsible with it. That's quite a frequent story that women have about money. I'm irresponsible with it. Like they're just protections that are, wanting to help you not like fail or feel bad or experience more trauma. And so what we do is we just come into relationship with those protections, with those wounds, and we allow them to release through your nervous system, through your body. We allow the opening to happen, right? And then we also do a lot of powerful activation work in the nervous system. So nervous system healing is not only about learning how to come to our center and learning how to be calm and peaceful and regulated. That is a part of it, and it is a very important part. But the other piece of nervous system work is actually being activated in a healthy way, activating our nervous system on the edges, because that is how we create, right? So it's stretching your nervous system in a safe way where it's not like burning you out or like overwhelming your nervous system, but activating you enough to where it's stretching the energy and shifting the energy and changing the cells in your body, right? And allowing you to receive from this luscious space. Yeah? And so we go both through the process of we're healing the money wounds, we're learning how to be with that and actually work with that in an empowering way, right? We're learning how to be with the shadow and hold it without drowning in it, allowing us to recognize the very real pieces where we have constriction around money, but to also hold the possibility of everything that is available, to hold the possibility of everything that you can create, of everything that can shift in such a short period of time. And it is about creating really deep level trust in your body's wisdom, really deep level trust in your expansion, and learning how to calibrate to the next level. So this program isn't about how much you are making. You actually don't even have to have your own business to be in this program. I tend to work with a lot of business owners. However, this work is about healing the receiving wound. And all people have it. All women have it on some level. But it's about healing the receiving wound and awakening nervous system wealth. And what is nervous system wealth? Nervous system wealth is receiving in lusciousness, in nourishment, in deep support, in love, and receiving not only money, but all of the other things that you desire that are intangible in life, right? It's shifting your nervous system response to opening and receiving in a whole different portal, right? And I've seen it happen for my clients. I've seen it happen for myself. This is work that I deeply believe in. And the truth is that I haven't seen a money program out there that does money trauma healing in the body. And I cannot tell you how many times I've taken so many digital programs. Let me tell you, I have so many unused digital programs that one day I will dive into. But I've bought money programs and I never opened them. Or I did open them and like they had me journaling out all of my thoughts about money and like rewriting all of my thoughts about money, and I couldn't do it. Like I couldn't do it. I'm all for mindset in a certain space, and I do use mindset to like anchor something into my body. But when it comes to like actually releasing and shifting something within myself, somatic healing has always been the thing that has worked and like really created long lasting results. I have clients who message me months after working together, years after working together, that are still talking about the ripple effects of the work. And it's not because I'm like, you know, the coach who has all the secrets. I'm not. I'm simply facilitating a space where we allow the body to shift, where we allow the nervous system to heal, and that's what creates sustainable results, right? That's what creates ripple effects that continue on past this program. And it's a program that you come back to and again, like I use these tools. So you don't have to be making zero in your business to get benefit from it. You also don't have to be making $50K a month in your business to receive benefit from it. This is legitimately for anywhere that you are, because one of the things that I love about my programs is we are always meeting your nervous system where it is at. When I have entered into different programs, it just hasn't met my nervous system where I was at. I was in extreme avoidance around money, so I couldn't even look at it. Like I couldn't even look at it. Showing up to the calls, I avoided it. Sitting down and doing the work, holy shit, did I avoid it? And so this program is specifically created to hold you in the work. It's trauma informed. It's body first. It's like if you haven't done any of the course stuff, fine, there's no pressure for you to. If you show up on a call, we're just going to drop in with wherever you are and help your nervous system work up to facing some of the money stuff if you're someone who's an avoider, or help your nervous system calm and shift out of the anxiety and worry response, and help you get to the place where you get to feel activated, where you get to feel turned on, where you get to access deeper and deeper pleasure with money. Right? And so I'm so committed to meeting people exactly where they are, no matter where they've been, no matter what their money trauma is, and holding the space in a very intimate way. And so it's a space for 12 women, and we have 2 separate cohorts that have 6 women in each cohort so that we can ensure that we hold a really sacred container that allows us to do the work deeply, right? So I do not, to this point, at least, maybe one day, I see it happening one day. I don't create passive digital programs specifically because I do like trauma-based, like trauma informed. We are working with your body. I'm getting in there with you because I genuinely want you to see the shifts and changes that I've seen are possible. And that is always my commitment in this space. I want intimacy. I want depth. I want to know you. I want to see you. And I want to meet you exactly where you're at. And so this program is a 5-month journey for that reason. There is content, there are modules, there are meditations. This is a felt sense experience. We are deepening in our sensual experience of ourselves, of money, of our life, right? We are allowing ourselves to learn how to hold the shadow as we activate the future that we are welcoming in. You are becoming more of who you are through this work. Yeah? You are learning to be in relationship with money in very generative ways. And that's why I'm so excited about this program. I'm literally jumping out of my seat. I can't wait for it to start. And the waitlist is open right now. You can access the link in my bio. And my commitment to this was also I wanted to make it as financially approachable as I could, considering that this is also like a really high touch experience. You're not passively going into the work. So if you sign up for the waitlist, it's more than $1,000 off the entire program, right? So the waitlist is open until October 31st. And we have payment plans starting as low as $555 per month, which is an extended payment plan option. And there's also 2 equity-based payment plan options. So I would encourage you to reach out to me about the equity-based. I have a special price for that, and I'd love to welcome 2 people in that level. So reach out to me if you have questions, but the link is in the bio. You can click to it. It also has more information about the program. You can just be added to the wait list. You'll receive an email, and you can sign up right from there, right from the link. And so my intention with this program, I really want women to like buy this from a place of desire within themselves. I really truly believe that when we like buy from desire, not from need, but from desire, like, oh, this feels so activating. This is activating me in all the right ways. Like it's challenging me. It's evoking something in me. And I deeply want to be supported in this. I want to shift my relationship with money. That's the place that I want you to buy this from, right? And so you can buy it straight from the link that I send you in the email, and it can be just as easy as that. And I want it to be a really easy yes for you. Like if you feel it in your body, if you feel the activation in your body, go ahead and buy it. I'm also here to answer any questions. Like you can hop on a call with me. I'm happy to have a dialogue about it and talk about if it's the right space for you. And so I encourage you to DM me and reach out. I'm always available here for conversation too. But this is like, I know, I don't say this, like when I feel something in my body, I say it. I know this program is booking out. There's 12 spots and I feel it. Like I feel it's booking out. And so if you feel it now, the waitlist is the best time to join. It's the lowest priced option. You are going to get so much value, so much content, so much support, so much loving care from me and my amazing co-coach, Rachel. Rachel has been in one of my programs and she has worked with me for the past 2 years, and I've been training her for months, and she is like phenomenal. She does the work in the same way that I do. I've trained her to that. And so she is joining me in this experience and is going to be holding all of you. I'm going to be present on all of the calls. So we're doing it together. And it's just going to be such a luscious container of receiving. So I really hope that you're going to join us. The link is there. You can come in right away. And if you join, just let me know. Just tag me on Instagram or shoot me a DM. And I'd love to celebrate you and just welcome you into the space because I'm so lit up to lead this. I'm so lit up to be in the space with you. Yes, Melissa, let's go. I'm so excited by it. So thank you all for joining me for the live. I hope that, you know, whether you join the program or not, it evokes something in you. It helps to calibrate you to a different possibility for yourself. And, you know, before I started doing this money trauma work within myself, I actually had never accessed the desire for me to build a 7-figure business. Like, I was always like, you know what, I'm just gonna like 6 figures is good. Like, this is where I'm good at. Like, that feels good enough. But as soon as I started doing this activation work, it's like my desires expanded. I claimed more of myself. It just transformed so much inside of me. And so I want to invite you into that too, and into your deepest desires, because that is part of what the program activates in you as well. It lets you reclaim the depth of your desire. So I hope you join us. I'm here for any questions, and sending you all so much love. Thank you for joining me live. I so appreciate you, and I hope you received medicine from this transmission today.